From the Whiskey Tangent Studios in Marlton, New Jersey, this is Whiskey Tangent News.
Hey everybody, this is Ed from the Whiskey Tangent Podcast, here with another episode of Whiskey News. Woo! Joining me as always is Scott.
Hey everybody.
And we've got a great episode planned for you. 7 news stories, 3 will be industry news. We have an environmental story and 3 financial stories as the world of whiskey finance has become a little bit hectic.
Yes.
I think it's fair to say.
Indeed.
Then we're going to tell you about 9 new whiskeys you can buy this month and what's coming up on the podcast in August and September. And now Scott's going to get us started with this month's news.
That's right. It is August 2025, and here's all the news that's fit to drink. In industry news, our first story is from the spirits business. Uncle Nearest hit by $100 million lawsuit.
Wow.
Yeah. Tennessee whiskey producer Uncle Nearest is facing a lawsuit from its primary lender, Farm Credit Mid-America, for allegedly defaulting on multiple loans. The lawsuit, filed on July 28th, claims that the company behind the fastest-growing whiskey brand in the United States owes more than $108 million and provided, quote, apparently inaccurate barrel inventory reports that overstated their value, sold whiskey barrels to pay other obligations, and discounted future revenue streams. As Farm Credit's lawyer wrote in their filing, the lender is left with no choice but to seek assistance from this court to protect its collateral and its rights. But then on August 3rd, Uncle Nearest filed its response, rejecting many of the allegations and calling them, quote, salacious and inaccurate.
Oh, salacious.
Salacious.
How whole.
I know.
Nice word, college boy.
Notably, a key part of Uncle Nearest's defense is the claim that its chief financial officer engaged in fraudulent activity by misrepresenting barrel inventory values. The CFO has since been terminated, and a third-party investigation into his misconduct is ongoing. Additionally, Uncle Nearest said it had paid nearly $9 million in 2024, and after a restructuring agreement was reached with Farm Credit earlier this year, it paid an additional $7.5 million. As owner Fawn Weaver posted on Instagram, Part 1 of our response has been filed. Pay close attention to the emails included in the exhibits. Part 2 is coming, and it's going line by line. Regulators mount up. Operation Clear the Shelves is in full effect. Let our distributors and partners know Uncle Nearest is stronger than ever, and please post on social media when you help us hashtag clear the shelves and tag me so I can share. But more than anything, stand in the gap with truth.
Well, I'll say this, $16 million isn't $108 million. Mm-hmm. And
that's true.
I love the bravado from the CEO. Or the owner, whatever you want to call her, Fawn. Mm-hmm. We'll find out if whether it's just a blustering, like, you know, the best defense is a good offense. But I do think it's something like, hey, these claims are salacious, but we did have a crooked CFO. Yeah. Well, wait a minute. So if you're saying it wasn't intentional, that's one thing, but that's different than being completely innocent. Like, hey, we didn't mean to do it. We had a shady guy doing the wrong stuff. We got hurt too. That's okay. That's fine. But don't be like, how dare you?
Yeah, this is a big he said, she said kind of a situation. So reading this, I don't know who's telling the truth. And I guess it'll just all work out, and we'll see who actually was.
Right. I was wondering, I'm like, if you actually get hit with a $108 bill, that can sink the distillery. They're not that big.
Right. $108 million. I mean, they'd have to file bankruptcy.
Yeah, I mean, if we got hit with $1,800, the podcast would go under, I think. So
$8 might do it.
Marty will lend us that. But what do you guys need? I got $1,800. All right. No, I'm going to lend to you. You'll be all right. You know, he's always there to help out the podcast.
Yes, thank you, Marty.
Friend of the podcast.
The second story we have is from the Whiskey Wash. Garrison Brothers secures national distribution. Garrison Brothers, Texas's first legal bourbon distillery, has appointed Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits as its national distributor, marking a significant expansion from 30 states to all 50. Effective August 1st, the partnership comes as American craft distilleries increasingly team up with major distributors to compete with established Kentucky bourbon houses. Southern Glazer's is the largest wine and spirits distributor in the United States and manages distribution for numerous premium brands. And of course, Garrison Brothers also distributes internationally, but only in 5 countries. However, with Southern Glazer's partnership, the brand will be positioned to expand those markets, potentially challenging the global dominance of traditional bourbon distilleries, said Vice President of Sales Drew Pennington from the incredible Southern Glazer's transition team. To their notable expertise, this great partnership sets up Garrison Brothers for years of continued success and accelerated growth while maintaining our identity as authentic Texas bourbon producer.
That's awesome. I will point out that the Whiskey Tangent podcast is in like 96 countries.
That we are.
And we've been in all 50 states for a while. But hey, glad you could join us, Garrison Brothers.
I mean, technically we distribute to every country. We've only been bought in 96 countries.
Right. We're not allowed to be listened to in North Korea. It's against the law. We're outlawed in North Korea.
Yeah,
Or Iran, I think, too, which is good. I'm quite happy to be in neither of those.
Yeah, that's fine. We did just get in China, though.
Actually, maybe more nervous than happy. I was like,
yeah, that's true.
What's going on?
It's like, what are they going to do to us?
I'm ready for the FBI to come visit me. Like, hey, what's the big idea?
Oh, shit! Hide the whiskey! Oh, that'll be hard to hide the whiskey. I got a lot right now.
They'll tackle me on the stairway. I'm Scott.
All right. Third story in industry news from njbiz.com. New Jersey cracks down on out-of-state alcohol shipments.
Oh, my God.
This is the story that you sent me.
I know, the no fun police.
Yeah, and it piggybacks on the story we did in June about the Supreme Court cases. Mm-hmm. The New Jersey Attorney General's Division of Consumer Affairs, or the DCA, has announced administrative actions against several out-of-state businesses for allegedly violating New Jersey's consumer protection laws by engaging in the unlicensed sale of wine and spirits in the state. The measures stem from a collaborative effort between the DCA and the Division of Alcohol Beverage Control, or ABC. As part of the investigation, an undercover DCA agent purchased beverages from 9 websites affiliated with businesses in California, New York, Tennessee, Washington, and Wyoming.
What a bitch.
The DCA said that 7 of those 9 have already agreed to stop selling into the state without a license and paying a $2,000 fine.
And the other 2 said, fuck you, bitch.
No, maybe, which is the cost of licensure.
Okay.
The other 2 received notices of violations seeking penalties of $4,000 each. Said New Jersey Attorney General Matthew Platkin, whether in-state or out-of-state, retailers selling alcohol beverages to consumers in New Jersey must abide by the laws that help ensure lawful and proper practices in the industry. Alcohol is a substance with potential for abuse and addiction, and we will not allow retailers to skirt the laws that ensure proper regulatory oversight of its sale in our state.
Hashtag we want our tax money. All right? And to that guy who bought all the spirits, just know, in some parts of Jersey, snitches get stitches. You know what I'm saying? Listen, if you're thinking you're not a hero. You're not a hero, man. All you did is made it a lot more difficult for us to get whiskey that we can't buy in this state. Do you know that? We can't buy all the stuff we want. There's wine that isn't sold here. There's whiskey that isn't sold here. We can't get it. We order it for exuberant prices too, but we can't even do that because you and the no fun police come and just ruin everything. How about you fix the roads that we drive on? Why don't you focus on that? He would say, and that's why I need the tax money, Ed. Thank you so much for making my point.
That's right. So this isn't quite as bad as I was thinking when you first sent it to me, when I read the headline. So it sucks that businesses need a license to distribute the alcohol in our state, and maybe many just won't bother, and that's why we can't get things, to your point. But if they get caught and the fine is $2,000 anyway, why not get your license and ship it to us, assuming that the profits are going to be more than that, right?
Right.
But I went back and reread the story that we did in June about the SCOTUS cases, and those were about equity, saying that businesses both in-state and out-of-state must have the same rules, which they do in New Jersey. So those SCOTUS cases actually didn't apply to this particular thing, because in-state or out-of-state, you need that $2,000 license.
But is it $2,000 a year?
It's $2,000 a year.
I mean, that's a lot. It is. Some of these people that ship are just liquor stores.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming it's $2,000 a year. I don't know that.
All right. Well, we'll have some of our summer interns do that.
Yeah. Our intern didn't go on that.
Yeah. Skippy and Becky. Yep, this year's interns. They're from Arcadia University.
Oh,
it used to be
nice.
Beaver College.
That's right. And then they had to change it because of obvious reasons.
Well, because people are disgusting and they can't behave themselves. But
it was an all-girls school.
That's the funny part. So Beaver College, it comes from Beaver County, Pennsylvania.
Nice, Beaver.
Going a little tangent here. Beaver College was, I think, founded like mid-1850s in Beaver County, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Evidently because they had a lot of beavers there for real.
Sure, yeah.
But then that opened up as an all-girls school. And that was okay until around, 1927, when they credit the slang term for a woman's genitalia being nicknamed a beaver. Goes back to Great Britain, started with a man's beard, then how beards look like pelts for beavers, and it's just a long progress to blah, 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 men are disgusting, okay? And so finally, and I can't believe it took this long, it took till 2001 for them to change the name to Arcadia. So that's information probably nobody needed to know, but I learned that today. So.
That was a beaver tangent.
Yes, that's right.
Which we like to do on the podcast. So
wait, didn't Gabe used to own beavers, I think?
Gabe owned beavers?
I think, didn't he have some beavers or
like in his backyard?
Otters or something? Yeah, I mean, it's, in the Pine Barrens. Don't they have beavers everywhere down there?
I mean, the Pine Barrens, I think, do. Yeah.
Right. Well,
sure.
Yeah. I figured that's all his domain. So.
Well, yeah. So I guess.
I just picture him going there and beavers just running up to him and like petting him on the head and stuff. And
he is king of the Pineys, so anything that the Pineys own, he owns.
His whole house is like just a big giant beaver dam. Yeah, he's got his own little beaver shed. So.
All right, so the next category we have is environmental news. And the only story we have in it, because it doesn't really fit in anywhere else, from AOL.com, they're still around.
I was going to say, this is from the 90s, so go ahead.
Buffalo Trace turns whiskey waste into eco-friendly goods.
Okay.
Shout out to Brian, the Whiskey Explorer, who sent this to me. As one of America's top whiskey producers, Kentucky's Buffalo Trace Distillery, responsible for several renowned brands including Blanton's, Eagle Rare, and E.H. Taylor, has embarked on a new initiative that aims to create value from what's often viewed as a waste byproduct of whiskey production. Known as stillage, it's the grain-rich slurry left over after the fermented mash is distilled. The more whiskey a distillery produces, the more stillage it must dispose of, with some estimates indicating around 10 gallons of stillage for every 1 gallon of bourbon produced. Traditionally, the stillage has often been trucked to local farmers who dry it up and use it for livestock feed. But as bourbon production has increased, stillage supply has far outpaced that demand. And with Buffalo Trace having increased its output by 50% over the past 5 to 10 years, they have more stillage to manage than ever before, which is where Meridian Biotech's proposed $40 million plant in Franklin County, Kentucky comes in. Founded in 2017, Meridian's goal in partnering with Buffalo Trace is first, to eliminate the cost of trucking by pumping stillage directly into the facility, and second, turning it into, quote, multifunctional alternative proteins by using advanced wastewater techniques and non-GMO bacteria. The proteins can then be used for a variety of products, including nutrient-rich feed for fish farming, pet foods, and even organic fertilizer, said Brandon Corris, president of Meridian Biotech. By reimagining distillery stillage as a resource rather than a byproduct, we're pioneering new paths in biotechnology that have the potential to transform the spirits industry. We are committed to making long-term positive economic impact and believe our technology will play a pivotal role in enhancing Buffalo Trace's commitment to innovation.
You know, I think if I had like a southern rock band, I'd name it Stillage.
Yeah.
I think that would be odd.
Stillage.
This Friday night, Stillage. That's certainly great. I don't understand how they've increased production by 50% and we still don't have any more Buffalo Trace products in New Jersey, but okay. See previous rant. But,
well, we do. The stuff,
Buffalo
it's not
Trace,
the high-end
I mean,
stuff
Buffalo Trace is more visible now. I will say that.
So it's like Sazerac Rye and like,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
the
yeah.
lower-end
Yeah.
expressions we're seeing more and more of. But you're right, the higher-end, no, they're not doing more than that.
Buffalo Trace was only because idiots buy it like it's something special when it's just a... Yeah. I would put that against Woodford Reserve in a blind taste test, and I can't believe that Woodford wouldn't win the day. Yeah. I mean, you know, that's a $35, $38 bottle, so...
Yeah. The next category I have, 3 stories, financial news.
Yes.
First one is from Whiskey Advocate. This one's a little weird.
Okay.
Stitzel-Weller is for sale, but not really. Let me explain.
I was just about to get my checkbook, Scott. You got me all excited.
All right. Founded as a partnership between spirits distributor W.L. Weller and Sons and the A.P.H. Stitzel Distillery in 1935, Stitzel-Weller went on to create some of the most iconic whiskeys in history, including Old Forester, W. Weller, and Pappy Van Winkle. In 1972, Stitzel-Weller was sold to a forerunner of Diageo and then shuttered in the early 90s. But now Diageo is selling 1.3 million square feet of land on their Shively, Kentucky campus, including 15 rickhouses, a recently shuttered bottling line, and thousands of square feet of office space for $34.8 million. You got that? That's a hanging around cash?
Yeah. 34.8 million, yeah.
Why not?
I wish I had the 0.8.
But there's a catch. The distillery building itself, which housed the original still and whiskey-making equipment, is not part of the deal, nor is the name Stitzel-Weller. As Royce Neely, master distiller of the Neely family distillery in Sparta, Kentucky, who briefly considered the offer, said the answer is a decisive no. It's a little funny to sell a distillery and not include the actual distillery. And the warehouses date back to the 1930s, making them just under a century old, a potential headache even in the best of circumstances. Even more bizarre, as we reported on our news back in June, Diageo just unveiled a new bourbon, the apparently tastes like saddle oil, Stitzel Reserve 24-year, which is a series that spotlights archival barrels, many of which are currently aging in those 15 warehouses that are now on the market. But as a Diageo spokesperson explained, the plan is to shift the majority of maturing and warehousing from the Stitzel-Weller site to other Diageo Kentucky facilities.
So wait, for $34 million, you could just get a couple of empty old warehouses?
Yeah. Essentially.
All right. Well,
you're getting it correctly. That's why I thought this was super weird.
Yeah.
Over the next 2 or 3 years, they're moving their stuff. So aside from selling off what the spokesperson calls, quote, unused portions of the property, the Stitzel-Weller name, the original distillery, and even their visitor center will not be changing in any way.
Well, I don't think any of it will be changing at that price. So basically, just say you're not selling distillery. Say we're selling land. Like basically, there should just be like 5 acres commercial property. Call 1-800 whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's all this is. It's like a land sale. It has nothing to do with whiskey.
I totally agree. I think they said Stitzel-Weller's for sale just to gin up interest.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, we're talking about it, right?
Yeah, it wouldn't have been on our radar.
Right.
If not,
You even advertised their 24-year. I
did.
They're really playing you, Scott.
Fished
Ooh, I'm
him.
embarrassed to be you. Burn.
I'm a sucker for a weird story. This is what it is.
You got me too. I was like, oh, that's weird.
All right, the second story in financial news is from agripulse.com. This is interesting. U.S. has been outflanked by UK India whiskey trade deal. Back in February, the United States and India announced a trade deal in which the Indian government dropped the tariff on bottled bourbon from 150% to 100%, giving U.S. exporters an advantage over Scotch in the Indian marketplace, which was still at 150%. However, just last week, after 3 years of negotiations, the UK and India announced their own trade deal in which the UK secured tariff reductions for Scotch, lowering them to 75%.
Oh, wow. Shots fired.
Yeah. As the Distilled Spirits Council's PR chief, Lisa Hawkins, said, the UK's trade agreement with India will place American whiskeys at a competitive disadvantage, so we will continue to seek the government's support to build on the positive momentum of the tariff reduction on bottled bourbon. Notably, though, bulk bourbon and other U.S. spirits still face the 150% tariff rate, as they did not receive any reductions alongside bottled bourbon.
It's bulk bourbon.
Bulk bourbon is
by the barrel?
Possibly by barrel, or for like mixing into other things, or
like industrial.
It could be industrial uses. Could be in foods. Yeah.
It's hard when you're seeing, for example, that Canada has taken all of our whiskey off the shelf, and they were our number one trading partner for whiskey. There's no doubt that this is, the demise of bourbon and the bourbon industry.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to relax. There's definitely a contraction going on, but I think it's a much needed contraction. The prices have been a little bit out of hand. Me and Scott have talked many times on here that there's just too many to chase now. So what happens? You end up chasing none.
That is a good segue in the next story, because there's a guy who sounds just like you. This guy, you're going to become best friends.
Okay.
So the last story we have before we get to new whiskeys this month, from Yahoo Finance, MGP's sales plummet amidst bourbon decline.
Yeah.
Last December, we reported that MGP, one of the biggest distilleries in the world, would be scaling back its whiskey production in 2025. And well, it turns out that was probably a good move, because this week, the company reported a drop in second quarter sales of nearly 25%. Now, as you may know, because we talk about MGP once or twice on the podcast, they have different business lines, primarily contract distilling, which is what they've had been historically known for, and their own branded spirits marketed under the Ross and Squibb moniker. And although it was the contract distilling that suffered the biggest losses at about 20%, the 5% loss in the branded spirits business is perhaps worse, because it was the production scale back that was meant to bolster their in-house brands. But for anyone that's been following the headlines, as Ed was saying, this may not come as a major surprise. Not only has there been an increase in whiskey sources for non-distiller producers, including Bardstown Bourbon Company and Southern Distilling, with more on the way, there's also the fact that younger people are drinking less, not to mention the seemingly never-ending on-again, off-again tariff threats, and a lot of companies are feeling pretty jittery. Of course, not everyone's ready to end the party. Earlier this week, InvestBev CEO Brian Rosen, Ed's new best friend, said that overall alcohol sales are actually up, and people are simply shifting to cheaper options. Bourbon is slowing down because the supply is too high, but producers will work through it in the next 6 to 12 months as production levels come down and distilleries shutter. The reality is, I'm looking at this thing analytically, not emotionally. With less bourbon being produced, you're going to get demand.
Right. If somehow Heaven Hill went out of business and I lost all those great whiskeys, right? The Larceny Barrel Proof and the Evan Williams Bottle and Bond and the Henry McKenna and on, the Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
We'd survive. I would find plenty of stuff to drink and be happy in my life. You know what I mean? And I think what's happening is that some of the smaller distilleries are getting beat up right now. So they're contracting less from MGP. Some are closing.
Yeah, some are closing, and people who thought that they might want to open one are not going to do that now.
Right. I saw many articles, 3 major distilleries filed for bankruptcy. Well, guess what? They weren't major distilleries, okay?
Right. Yeah.
They weren't major.
No, they're not.
They weren't major.
Yeah, that's why I didn't do that article, because we mentioned 2 of them before, and the other one I'd never heard of.
Right. It was a bullshit article, because it's not major, all right? Major is Heaven Hill. Major is Wild Turkey. Major is Jim Beam.
Yeah.
You know, there's significant ones that are out there that are on the next level. These guys weren't even that, you know? So, for example, we had a problem with car chips. We couldn't buy cars for a year.
Yeah.
So then let's say they figure out the chip demand and everyone goes out next year and buys cars and like, oh, sales are up 30%. And then the following year, we all just bought cars. They come back down 12%. Everybody panics. I'm like, no, it's just the sequence of events, you know?
Yeah.
We were stuck home.
Right, we weren't driving. You don't need a car.
I'm not proud of it, but I was drinking about 2 to 2.5 bottles of whiskey a week. Okay? You know, it sounds like a lot, but remember, I can drink a quarter bottle of whiskey when I'm doing nothing else all day.
Yeah,
you
dude,
know?
I gained 15 pounds during COVID, and it was because I drank so much whiskey.
Right. So it's like when we came out of our caves, we stopped doing that, and the spirits industry was like, "Oh my God, we're in a tailspin." I'm like, "No, we're just getting back to living."
Yeah.
The whole country was in a drunken stupor, right? And it is true that the younger people like cannabis and smoking and edibles. It's something that certainly was not present in the preceding generations.
Right, because it was illegal.
Which is why I was in a liquor store this weekend and I saw quite a few infused products, alcohol infused.
That's right.
And so if you mix both, it's already in the same cup for you now.
Yeah.
So,
and people are doing that. That is one of the biggest growth product lines in the beverage industry.
But I mean, as far as the contraction goes in the bourbon and whiskey industry, we're not going to be just 5 years from now crying, drinking Crown Royal out of a paper bag somewhere. You know, we're going to be okay. Everyone has to realize that they need to stop coming out with the next $150 bottle. It's like, it doesn't make sense anymore.
We talked, I think, last time about some whiskeys are lowering their prices or putting out lower priced options.
Yes.
And this is another good segue into the whiskeys because there's both of these, too high and too low. And we'll get to them right now.
Right.
All right. The first one we have is Bibb & Tucker Gold Roast Infused Bourbon. We haven't talked about Bibb & Tucker in a while.
No, not in a while.
Yeah, never tasted it on air and perhaps not talked about since episode 3 back in April of 2019.
It might be a quick taste in our future.
Yeah, maybe. Bibb & Tucker's latest project aims to combine the worlds of whiskey and coffee. Gold Roast is a Tennessee whiskey infused with custom roasted Arabica coffee beans from local coffee purveyor Muletown Coffee Roasters. 92 proof, 6 years aged, 70 corn, 26 rye, 4 malted barley, pecan pie, caramel, dried apricot, rye spice, ginger, roasted nut, coffee, grilled corn, baking spices, and smoky oak, MSRP 50.
Yeah, I would try that. It reminds me of what Few did with their coffee-infused whiskeys.
Yeah, coffee above bourbon is my number one drink.
Yeah,
I drink it every day.
Right, I drink it every day.
Yeah.
Against popular belief, I do not drink bourbon every day.
Just every other day.
Oh, there was days. During COVID, I drank every day.
That's right, you know, back in the pandemic, which we talked about. The second one we have is Booker's Bourbon by the Pond batch.
Okay.
This is 2025-02. The second Booker's batch of the year is comprised of barrels from 7 different production dates and aged in 8 unique warehouses. And so named for the backyard pond that Booker Noe would frequent on sunny afternoons. According to Booker's son, Master Distiller Fred Noe, Booker installed the pond behind his family home to ensure that fresh catfish and bluegill would always be readily available for supper. Eventually, however, the pond became less a place to fish and more of a site for refuge and reflection. It's 126.5 proof.
Wow.
7 years, 1 month, 20 days aged. 77 corn, 13 rye, 10% malted barley, vanilla, cinnamon rolls, clove, cardamom, and black pepper, 100.
Yeah, they've been keeping Booker's reined in, and I think that this little retraction might help stay there.
I agree.
Because keep expecting Booker's to go up to 120, 125, because that's where the trend was going for stuff like that. But there's people that will spend that every time the new batch comes out.
And they put 4 out a year. So like charging 150 or more, it seems egregious.
125, you're doubling what someone spends in a year for that one product.
Right,
so,
right.
you know,
Exactly.
and that's what happens. You know what? I'm not going to get any of them then.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done because same way we stopped getting the Blood Oath. They can do what they want, but we don't have money to get the Blood Oath every year.
Right. And then get every other thing that we want too.
Right.
You got to make choices. And if you price it too high, well, we're making other choices.
That's right. We're not going to take it.
No, we ain't going to take it. We're not going to take it anymore.
Where the hell did that come from? So over the top.
The next one is Colonel E.H. Taylor's Distillers Council Bottled and Bond Bourbon. Listen to this thing. Buffalo Trace's latest pitch to increase the profile of one of its less acclaimed brands has released a new ultra-premium expression distilled using E.H. Taylor's 19th century techniques, bottled in a special Grecian glass decanter, modeled after one used in an old Taylor bourbon ad from the 1950s, and named for a meeting held by distillery notables shortly after the company was acquired by Sazerac. It's 100 proof, 15 years aged. The mash is not disclosed, but it's different apparently than their other E.H. Taylor expressions.
Okay.
Grain forward with hints of biscuits and pastry, toasted sugar, dark caramel, creme brulee, plum dessert, and nougat. MSRP $1,500. Read the room, Buffalo Trace. $1,500.
I mean, how many bottles are coming out? Did they say?
I don't know. I mean, it's special in a decanter, but $1,500? Are you fucking kidding me?
So what would be appropriate? $350?
Yeah.
Because we still like,
yeah, we'd say $350. I'm not getting that, but okay, I can see it.
Yeah. It's 15
years, limited edition,
special bottle,
different grain, using the techniques. Yeah. $1,500.
So if that goes into the secondary market at 15, I can understand.
Yeah. So the secondary is going to be like 3,000.
Right. I mean, yeah.
All right. So the next one we have, I thought this was interesting. Jack Daniel's Blackberry.
Oh, God.
Blackberries have long been a jewel of the South, which is why the latest expression from the Jack Daniel's distillery is launching this brand new whiskey liqueur, which takes their signature Tennessee whiskey and infuses it with fresh blackberry flavor. The company recommends turning Tennessee blackberry into a refreshing slush, combining it with tea, lemonade, and orange juice for a cool party-ready drink topped with fresh blackberries and mint. It's 70 proof, no age statement, 80 corn, 12 rye, 8% malted barley. This is typical Jack Daniel's. Blackberry, caramel, vanilla, and spicy oak. MSRP $22.
Yeah, I mean, it's a liqueur. They're admitting that. It's in the flavored whiskey category. And I also like the way they said, yeah, you should probably just drink it straight, make a little punch out of it.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
They know what they have. They didn't pretend this is anything more than it is. We used to get blackberry brandy when I was a kid.
Oh, that's right. You told the story before about the skiing, right?
Yeah, no, you know I don't ski, but I would toboggan and tube.
Okay, right. It was mountainous.
Yeah, we would wipe out in the snow. When you were like 11, they'd run over and they'd shoot a little brandy in your mouth and warm you up and send you back up the mountain.
It was great growing up in the 70s.
It was great. Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize today that my parents should be indicted for that.
Child abuse, yeah.
New Jersey would want the tax on that, like.
Right. You have a shot. You got to pay an extra $4. Oh, shit.
Gabe
has arrived for the next
events.
things. Yes, for the next things that we're doing next week.
Yeah.
Sort of piggybacking on the summer trend here, I feel like if Jack Daniel's put some summer drink out, like the Blackberry, Jim Beam's got to put one out too. So this is the Jim Beam Sunshine blend. This is a blend of their white label bourbon and another bourbon that includes rice in its mash bill.
I know which one that is.
Basil Hayden toasted. According to the brand, this one was made with daytime social occasions like barbecues and sporting events in mind, hence the low ABV and, of course, the name. They recommended trying it on its own or in a cocktail like a highball or a bourbon lemonade. 80 proof, no age statement, no mash bill, fruity and youthful with notes of apple, sweet corn, honey on toast, cinnamon, nutmeg, peaches, pepper, light oak, and brown sugar. $20.
But you said it's 80 proof, so it's a whiskey.
It is.
Oh, that's the difference.
But it's cheaper than the Blackberry.
Right. So how do they get the flavor? Is it infused in the barrel or something? Or
I don't know. They combine the white label and the Basil Hayden toasted.
And they're just getting the flavor they want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The next one we have is Kentucky Peerless Toasted Rye, batch number 2. Just 6 months after the debut of Toasted Rye batch 1, Kentucky Peerless has introduced its follow-up, which, unlike its predecessor, and this is why I'm mentioning it, is available nationwide.
Oh, no.
However, the whiskey remains the same. They're rye aged in number 3 charred barrels, but finished in a medium toast new American oak. 107 proof, 4 to 8 years aged, plus 1 month in the toasted barrel. Mash is not disclosed, as ever. Cinnamon sugar toast, Boston cream donut, toasted orange peel, spiced cranberry sauce, sugary oak, sweet cloves, salted caramel, and browned butter. MSRP $110.
Wow.
Love that.
But I mean,
love it.
If you know what we talked about Peerless and when we did a whole episode with them, they do 12 barrels a day.
Yeah.
So each bottle is handcrafted. $100, $110 is what you're going to spend.
Yeah.
You might find some of the regular expressions for around 80. I've never sipped any Peerless that I wasn't overjoyed to taste.
Yeah, like we first took a look at their prices, and they're from $80 to $120, and some. Well,
I avoided it.
Yeah, I avoided it for a long time.
I didn't know who they were, and I'm like, I'm not just going to buy an $85 bourbon.
And we had a few, I guess, before we went to Kentucky. But when we visited a distillery, again, the best distillery we visited, we did a whole episode on it. We became converts.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yep, I always have some Peerless in the house.
Yeah. So another episode that we did this summer, a Little Book Chapter 9 is out.
Yes.
None for Granted. As we touched on in episode 84, all about Little Book, Master Distiller Freddie No's latest expression blends bourbons and ryes that pay homage to the flavors that make up the backbone of American whiskey, namely brown sugar, vanilla, caramel, and big oak. It's 121.8 proof, 7 to 11 years aged. The mash is not disclosed. Already gave the tasting notes.
Right.
Brown sugar, vanilla, caramel, big oak. The MSRP is $160.
I thought it was $150. They actually went up.
$160. Yeah, they went up. They went up a little.
We'll see.
Come on, Freddie.
Interesting, because the Booker stayed at 100, and they're not. I mean, they're very different, but
Right, this is once a year.
Right.
Whereas Booker's is 4 times a year. So, I mean, I'm not justifying it, but
he does put a lot of work into this project.
Yeah,
There's a lot of different whiskeys. They're finished in different things.
as you heard on that episode 84.
Yep.
2 more. Old Granddad 7-year bottled and bond.
Okay.
As industry-wide growth cools and distillers find themselves with plenty of inventory, as we were talking about, whiskeys with higher proofs and age statements are trending.
Right.
Which is great news for whiskey drinkers who increasingly have access to older, more robust whiskeys that won't break the bank. And seeing as Knob Creek and Jim Beam Black Label now carry higher age statements, Jim Beam is at the forefront of this trend, with the latest brand to follow suit being Old Granddad. 100 proof, 7 years age, 63 corn, 27 rye, 10 malted barley, sweet aged oak, cinnamon, sugar, barrel char, saltwater taffy, vanilla caramels, a touch of chocolate, and baking spices. MSRP $40.
Nice.
For a 7-year at 100 proof, bottled and bond.
I mean, we'll definitely be trying that.
Ed just left.
Yeah, we'll definitely be trying that. Definitely be trying that.
Yeah. And then continuing this trend, Sazerac 100 proof.
Oh.
Yeah. Buffalo Trace is releasing a higher proof version of their flagship Sazerac Rye, developed in response to bartenders' demands for a higher strength version of the original, which was 90 proof.
And I think that's what Rittenhouse's advantage was. Wasn't Rittenhouse Rye 100?
Yep, because that's
from
a
Heaven Hill.
Bond, yep.
And I think that's one of their main well competitions.
Yeah, that's a good point. So this is 100 proof, 6 years aged. It's the Buffalo Trace Rye Mash, which could be 55 rye, 41.5% corn, and 5% malted barley. Spicy rye, cinnamon, sweet vanilla, caramel with hints of licorice and Bing cherries. The MSRP is $30.
Wow.
For the liter bottle. Because they want to put it in restaurants. Right. And then now Gabe is gone.
Gabe's up the building.
So the next thing that we do, what's coming up on the podcast in the next 2 months, on 8/22, which is next week, episode 86, Stranahan's American Single Malts.
Yes.
Yeah. On 8/29, the week after that, we're doing a quick taste of Eagle Rare 17-year.
Ooh, lucky us, lucky us.
On the 5th and the 12th, we're having no podcast because Ed and I will be attending the Global Whiskey Challenge in Denver, Colorado, and participating as judges.
Yes, we've been invited to judge our first whiskey competition.
Yeah.
And we are very, very, very
extremely excited.
Honored and excited.
On the 19th, which would be the weekend after we come back, we're either going to do the news, or I was thinking that we might do a full-on episode all about our experience of being judges at a competition.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe even incorporate that into the news. We don't know how long.
We don't know.
We don't really have that much to talk about. Like, we tasted.
Then it's the news, right?
We sat there and drank whiskey till we were sick. Which is how I
Which is going to happen.
Because I feel like they're going to be like, Ed, you have to spit. I'm like, no, but you're not. No, okay, I will. And then it's like, stretcher and 7 people, please.
Clear. And then the week after
they're going to be like, Ed, why did you show up with your own stretcher on wheels? Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
It's just upright, folded right next to you.
Right.
Oh, my God. And the last Friday in September, this 26th, we're going to do our last call, summer 2025, which marks the end of season 13.
Wow.
And that's it.
Yep. We can go into syndication now.
Yeah, I don't know how many episodes. We're coming up on 300.
Right. So great news. Great story, Scott. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're about to record the Stranahan's episode right now.
And the Eagle Rare.
And the Eagle Rare. We have a lot of great drinking for this wonderful Saturday night here that we're spending together with friends, and I hope you are too. And for the Whiskey Tangent Podcast, thanks for tuning in. I'm Ed.
I'm Scott.
Cheers, everybody.
Later.